Hello everybody, my name is Cody Braving as yet another video, and in today's video, we're continuing the subclasses for D&D Beyond, D&D Beyond, D&D 5e, and we're continuing with the Monk subclasses. Last time we had gone over the two that are not actually on this list, which are the Way of the Cobalt Soul, Critical Roles, Way of the Cobalt Soul, and the Way of Mercy, just because of the two newest ones, and usually like the Critical Role stuff is not going to be on here, mainly because that one's also fairly new. So we'd gone over them with, from what I talked to with the other two in the group there, which was Jacob and Jamie. We had discussed saying that Way of the Mercy would be like here in Legendary somewhere, kind of like a low a low S tier, like a 91 to 92 type of thing, and then the Way of the Cobalt Soul was a like 89, 88 range of the Great. It definitely is a very good one compared to, I mean, of course we've only looked at two of them, so it's kind of like, yeah, we pushed the Cobalt Soul down a little bit compared to Way of Mercy, but they definitely both have their areas that you want to play play one or the other. So depending on how you want to play your monk, either one is perfectly fine to play. Uh, Next up, though, as you can probably also tell because I did not say, hey, introduce yourself to anybody, I am going to be doing the rest of the monk alone, just because it kind of goes faster, and I like don't get me wrong, I did enjoy uh, having them part of this. I just kind of like the flow of having it, to myself, I guess. Like, not trying to sound rude, I just having it to, like, having it with just me so I can kind of get everything out, and as unorganized as this is, there is a template to it how I do, and trying to change it up all the way down here at Monk. Like, I've gone through several classes now and randomly trying to change the formula now. Yeah, not gonna keep doing that. I did enjoy Jacob, and Jamie brought a lot to, like a lot of joking stuff, but I'm gonna stick to doing this alone unless I have somebody who can, like, you know there's a very similar way of how I want to do this, but nothing against them, of course. Uh, so we're gonna hop back into the actual subclasses and whatnot, continuing with the monastic tradition of Way of the Shadow. At 3rd level, you'll get Shadow Arts. Starting when you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you can use your key to duplicate the effects of certain spells. As an action, you can spend 2 key points to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without a Trace, or Silence without providing material components. Additionally, you gain the Minor Illusion cantrip if you don't already know it. So it's just like a nice little, you know, perks for your how this like the starting off thing, like your character is going to be all about darkness and stealth and wanting everything to be kind of quiet, like a very rogue-like monk. So, you know, getting dark vision if you don't already have, dark vision, not darkness. If you don't already have dark vision as your race, then this is nice to be able to have there. Being able to to cast darkness is kind of cool, as it'll really help with your your kind of stealthiness. Of course, remember that you cannot see through magical darkness unless you have uh, like what's it called? Devil Sight from the Warlock, and probably like a couple of other things. But like the caster cannot see through darkness. So if you cast darkness, you're not going to be able to see through it even with darkness. Pass Without a Trace for more stealth, Silence for like the really like kind of extra stealth related things, and like the kind of like scarier, dark related things, and then Minor Illusion also kind of helps there. So just the ability to, use key and, outside of combat things rather than always being in combat. If you want to be outside of combat and throw these around, then you can. And I real quick want to make sure, I want to know, because I know last time I was saying that you get this back at a short rest, right? When you spend a key point, it is unavailable until you finish your short rest. Yeah, so you can get your key back at a short rest. So you can be outside of combat. You can still use Pass Without a Trace, do all of that, take a short rest, get your key back, so you can have key in time for the actual combat. So, you don't have to worry too much about being like, oh man, should I be using this type of stuff outside of combat? No, it's fine, because you can just take a quick little short rest, and you can get it all back. Also, now at 6th level, you'll get Shadow Step. You gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. When you are in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see that is also in dim light or darkness. You then have advantage on the first melee attack you make before the end of your next turn. So, or end of the turn, I should not your next turn, end of the turn. So, definitely help, like, the fact that you're already going to have a pretty good amount of movement, being that a monk gets, a lot of, like, constant movement buffs. So now you can also gain the ability to, as a bonus action, teleport 60 feet, and then have advantage on the first melee attack. Like, this by itself is great, because anytime you can get advantage on an attack is pretty good. So you can get that. This is also, I'm not, like, having a multi-classing really be, like, that big of, like, a thing, because, a lot of areas would be gaining higher and lower compared to the fact that you can multi-class with so-and-so, and if you do this and that. But, if you were to multi-class with a rogue so that you can guarantee advantage on your stabs for, pretty much guaranteed sneak attack damage every time, it's pretty cool. And then because this is dim light or darkness, not just darkness, you can have maybe not as easy a time during the day, but if you can get to like a shadow, you can teleport from one shadow to the other, so it can really help with that. And this also isn't like you can only do it, X amount of times before you have to like finish a short or long rest, or it spends key points to do this. No, you can just naturally be doing this as a bonus action. So it is actually a pretty cool, like, kind of free ability to get at level 6. So definitely something to kind of look forward to, I would say. At level 11, you'll get Cloak of Shadows. You have learned to become one with the shadows. When you are in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. You remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell, or in an area of bright light. So just, also this is another, like, you don't have to be spending key for this. Like, yes, you have to use your action, but, like, you can just become invisible for free. It is not, it's not being key. It's not a limited time thing you can do per day. This is, if you're in darkness or dim light, you can just become invisible. And it also isn't timed. Like, a lot of times, like the invisibility spell, like, it's a time limit before it stops. You can be, like, a true reconnaissance with this, because you can just go invisible, and unless you somehow are accidentally touched by bright light from something, you will constantly be invisible. So you can actively be the stealthiest character because of constant invisibility from this. So, like, this isn't quite adding as much as a monk, because really, like, the monk isn't always being, like, the stealth character, the, like, kind of a way around and ambush somebody. You're usually, like, wanting to be on the front line, doing stuff like that. But definitely, if you want to play, like, a different style of monk, like how the Mercy and the Cobalt Soul have, like, their unique style, like the healing from the Mercy and the kind of, like, information gathering for the monk. This one, if you want to be, like, the very stealth-oriented monk, then this one is definitely going to be kind of fun to play, I would say. An Opportunist at 17th level as your Capstone. You can exploit a creature's momentary distraction when it is hit by an attack. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack made by a creature other than you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. Kind of lame, not gonna lie. Because I think there are feats that allow you to do this, and I think other subclasses might also allow you to do this. Maybe not from the monk, but I think that other subclasses can do this. So it's kind of lame for this being a level 17, your level 17 capstone ability that you can use your reaction to hit somebody who's been hit. It's like, it doesn't, it doesn't, like, quite give the feel that the rest of the class has been either. Like, the rest of the class has been all about, like, darkness and like, being related to being in dark or dim light and really helping with, like, your stealth related things. And then this one is like, oh, if a creature is hit within 5 feet of you, you can hit them too. Like, the Capstone kind of ruins the subclass Like, it doesn't, like, this isn't something that you're like, ah, oh, dang, I never get to 17th level, I really missed it. And this is definitely closer to like, the end of the spectrum where it's, oh, this is what I get as my capstone? Okay, I guess. Like, I don't know, what else it really could have done. I mean, like, honestly, as a 17th level ability, if it had given you, like, something like, uh, you can, um, see in magical darkness or something like that, you can, uh, have more things related to, like, darkness. Maybe somehow you're having, like, resistance to necrotic damage, you can't be ambushed or something, like, more things related to what the class has been giving this entire time, then it definitely would have been better. Because that is also another thing that kind of is part of the criteria is, like, that I've brought up with a couple other classes is, does it stick to a theme the entire time? Like, you wouldn't be like, oh, like, right off the bat you gain this, and then at 6th level you gain this, and then all of a sudden at 11th level it's like, oh, while in the light you can cast Sunbeam, and it's like, what? Why am I able to do something with the light now when I've always been about the darkness? So, like, randomly switching from all about dark, all about dark, all about dark, and then it's all of a sudden like, oh yeah, just if a enemy is hit within 5 feet of you, you can hit them too. It definitely drops it. Like, at the moment, it'll be in A tier, but this is definitely like a very low A tier. Like, if these ones, like the remaining few, can like also be put in A tier and like they're clear A tiers, Shadow Monk will definitely go to B tier and nice, because it doesn't play quite how a monk, how you think a monk would, but it doesn't take away necessarily, but it isn't adding anything that is so substantial or that another, like, something else can do. Like, other classes can do it better, or just like spells or feats can do what it is trying to do in a sense. So it's kind of eh, it's not bad. If that's how you want to play, then be my guest. But if you want to play that, you can just be a rogue, to be honest. Next up, we'll go to Way of the Astral Self, which is one that I have played a good bit. I have played Shadow before, and I have played Mercy, and then I've also played Open Hand and Astral Self, which I also just noticed that also Astral Self is not here. So I don't know. I don't think that Long Death is one of them, is it? Yeah, Long Death is not something that's here. So yeah, there is the same amount of things here, but Long Death isn't here. It's Astral Self now. So Astral Self, I do have a bit of knowledge from playing it, and it is a very, very good class in my opinion. At 3rd level, you gain Arms of the Astral Self. Your mastery of your key allows you to summon a portion of your astral self. As a bonus action, you can spend 1 key point to summon the arms of your astral self. When you do so, each creature of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of you must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take force damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die. For 10 minutes, these spectral arms hover near your shoulders or surround your arms, your choice. You determine the arm's appearance, and they vanish early if you are incapacitated or die. While the spectral arms are present, you gain the following benefits. You can use your wisdom modifier in place of your strength modifier when making strength checks and strength saving throws. So if you're if you want to be a dex-based monk, and like your strength is only a +1 or something, but your wisdom is +3, then you can now be doing like athletics checks, strength checks overall, your strength saving throws. All of that can now be using your +3 modifier instead of a +1 modifier. So it's very nice. You can use the spectral arms to make unarmed strikes, which when you make an unarmed strike with the arms on your turn, it reaches 5 feet greater than normal, which means that instead of punching 1 square in front of you, you can punch a second square in front of you, so you have a range of 10 feet with your hands, which also kind of means that you can kind of punch in the air enemies, which is kind of cool, as long as they're, like fairly close. And the unarmed strikes you make with your arms can use a wisdom modifier in place of strength or dex for the attack and damage rolls, and their damage type is force. So you probably won't be using the wisdom modifier in place of your dex or strength modifier, because usually your dex or strength, if you're playing a dex-based monk, that would be like a 4 or a 5 at this point. You'd have it as pretty high, and your dex would either be a 4 or a 5 if you're playing a dex-based one, while your wisdom would usually only be 3. So it's, you usually would be using your dex modifier in this case. But the really good thing is that their damage type is force, which means that people, enemies who are resistant to, bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing, or I guess bludgeoning damage in this case because you're punching, it is now counting as force damage, which, as I've said a couple of times, is highly unresisted and I believe the least resisted damage type in the game. So an extremely helpful thing, the fact that you now have a longer range, and you also gain, turn it into force damage, which is pretty cool. So definitely a very beneficial thing there. At 6th level, you'll gain Visage of the Astral Self. You can summon the Visage of your Astral Self as a bonus action or part of the bonus action you take to activate the Arms of the Astral Self. You can spend 1 key point to summon this Visage for 10 minutes. It vanishes early if you are incapacitated or die. The spectral visage covers your face like a helmet or a mask. You determine its appearance. While the spectral visage is present, you gain the following benefits. Astral Sight. You can normally see in darkness, but with magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet. So you gain the ability to see in magical and non-magical of 120 feet, which is farther than most. I think all races can only get like 30 to 60 feet as their normal range for dark sight, dark vision. Uh, this is now allowing you to have 120 feet, and you can see in magical darkness. So if there's the shadow monk who casts darkness around you, you can see in that darkness, because that is magical darkness. You can now see in it, which is extremely good. You'll also gain Wisdom of the Spirit. You have advantage on insight and intimidation checks. Extremely good, because if you know that you're going to be wanting to intimidate, or you want to be trying to deceive, like you think that somebody might be deceiving you, you can activate your Visage of the Astral Self, and it isn't like a spell where you have to like mutter stuff to you and make hand signs and stuff. It'll just appear, and you now can have advantage on this, and your enemy probably won't be knowing, especially if you're kind of smart with it, because technically, as part of a mask or something, you could be like, oh, hold on, let me put on my glasses, pretend to put on glasses, but you're really activating the Visage of the Astral Self. So you can kind of very like subtly activate this, and now you have advantage on insight or intimidation. And lastly, Word of the Spirit. When you speak, you can direct your words to a creature of your choice that you can see within 60 feet of you, making it so only that creature can hear you. Alternatively, you can amplify your voice so that all creatures within 600 feet can hear you. So if you're trying to relay something to an ally, you're trying to be very subtle about it. Maybe you're trying to, like in the middle of talking to an enemy or something, and you're trying to talk to one of your allies. You have this activated. You can real quick just, and only that one person can hear you talk. Or if you want to make sure that you're trying to talk to a full like force of enemies, or like enemies who are approaching you, maybe talking to somebody who's extremely far away, like they're up on a wall or something. You can just amplify your force for up to 600 feet. So a pretty helpful inside of combat and outside of combat related things. So it's kind of cool. At 11th level, you'll gain Body of the Astral Self. When you have both your arms and visage summoned, you can cause the body of your astral self to appear, no action required. The spectral body covers your physical form like a suit of armor, connecting with the arms and visage. You determine its appearance. While the body is present, you gain the following benefits. Deflect energy. When you take acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, or thunder damage, one of the elemental things, so it wouldn't be like psychic damage, but you can deflect those ones. You can use your reaction to deflect it. When you do so, the damage you take is reduced by 1d10 plus your wisdom modifier, minimum reduction of 1. So, just like the ability to take less and less damage is always nice. So it's a nifty little thing. So a lot of times, you'll be seeing fire, cold, acid, lightning. Probably not too often that force and thunder damage will happen, but definitely being able to, it's not going to be like an absurd amount, but getting to roll 1d10. By this time, you probably have a wisdom of 4, maybe even 5, but realistically, you'd probably have like a wisdom modifier of plus 4. So getting like a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 14 damage reduced, it's pretty nice to be able to do that. And you'll also gain Empowered Arms. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a target with the arms of the Astral Self, you can deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. So you basically get to roll another die So at the moment, I believe that you'd be doing 1d8 of your attack would be 1d8, I believe. I don't think it's 1d10 yet. So you can basically roll a second d10 per turn. So you can basically just do more and more damage. And because you get to choose when it happens, because this is technically a die that you're rolling, um, if you get a crit, you get a double this, and this is, not a beforehand, this is an on-hit effect that you get to choose. So you can wait until the very last attack to do it, or, the second that you get a crit, you can be like, alright, I'm using the Empowered Arms, so you can roll that second d10 or d8, and that'll also be doubled by the crit damage because it is a die. So a lot of damage can be done, and it's constant damage that is happening all the time. So a nifty little thing. And lastly, at level 17, as the Capstone, you get Awakened Astral Self. Your connection to your Astral Self is complete, allowing you to unleash its full potential. As a bonus action, you can spend 5 key points to summon the arms, visage, and body of the Astral Self and awaken it for 10 minutes. This awakening ends early if you are incapacitated or die. While your Astral Self is awakened, you gain the following benefits. Armor of the Spirit, you gain a +2 bonus AC whenever, and Astral Barrage, whenever you use the extra attack feature to attack twice, you can instead attack 3 times if all the attacks are made with the Astral Arms. So, obviously you'll be getting all the benefits of the arms, visage, and body. You'll also be getting a +2 bonus to AC, which your AC is going to be 10, plus Dex, which will probably be like 5 or 6 at this point, plus your Wisdom, which will be probably 4, probably not 5, but like 4, and your Dex being 5 or 6. So you'll be getting like 19 or 20 AC, and you'll be getting +2 AC. So you'll be at like 21, 22 AC, not including any other like magic effects like a Ring of Protection, Bracers of Protection, Cloak of Protection, anything like that isn't armor that is increasing your AC, but like an actual item that is giving you a magical effect to your AC. You can get have a pretty high AC with this, and then when you're using the attack action, which will allow you to take two attacks with one action, you can now do 3 attacks with the Astral Self with like the Astral Arms. It's pretty good, the fact that you can get 3 attacks at this point, a +2 AC, plus all the other benefits that you're getting on top of everything else. It's pretty good to see. A little high for it being 5 key points, but you're getting a lot of benefits. So you normally would spend 2 key points for these two. You need 1 for the arms and 1 for the visage. Body is free. And then on top of that, you're basically spending 3 additional key points to be gaining +2 AC and an extra attack while taking the attack action. I mean, 5 is good, and it's also active for 10 minutes, which is a pretty good time. Would this be, like if this was a little bit cheaper, like if this was just 4 instead, I would say it would be even better, but definitely for 5 it is fine. You'd have enough key for this not to be like so so terrible. And definitely a huge benefit of both of these things right here, so it is definitely worth it to activate it when you can. All in all, I mean, the benefits that you're getting from, extra range and all the things that you can do with the arms. The visage has some really good, strong abilities. What you're getting from the body is actually pretty beneficial, and your Capstone, it is definitely in that kind of medium, that nice like middle area where you're like, oh shoot, I didn't miss out on my level 17, but you're also not like, oh, this is my level 17. Uh, I'm glad that we've gone over 4 classes and only one of them is on the board. But this is definitely something that would be like a high B tier or high A tier, low S tier. I don't know if it would be better than Wave of the Mercy, just because, I mean, it kind of depends on how you want to play. I mean, they can definitely, it's easy that they can be tied. Like how do you want to play and what does your party consist of? Because, if you're playing with like one main healer, like just a cleric or a druid who is just like the healer, then you'd probably want to go for Way of Mercy. But if you're playing with like either a cleric and a druid or a cleric and a bard, maybe you have a paladin who can also do lay on hands for the healing stuff. then you would probably want to go for where you're the Astral Self, for like the more damage and the more versatility that I can do. So I would probably say that it is on par with Way of Mercy, because it's kind of like, what does your party consist of? That's where you would choose one or the other. So they're definitely like both S tier, like 91, 92 range, kind of depending on how you want to play your character, I guess. Next up is Way of the Drunken Master, which, oh boy. At third level, you gain bonus proficiencies. You gain the performance skill if you don't already have it. Your martial arts technique mixes combat training with the precision of a dancer and the antics of a jester. You gain proficiency with brewer's supplies if you don't already have it. Drunken Technique. At third level, you learn how to twist and turn quickly as part of your flurry of blows. Whenever you use flurry of blows, you gain the benefit of the disengage action, and your walking speed increases by 10 feet until the end of your current turn. This is actually a really cool thing, the fact that when you use flurry of blows, you also get to disengage. So you can punch, flurry of blows, punch, and then disengage with an extra 10 feet of movement. So you can like really move around and get to places. And because this is like a constant thing that is act like you are using this disengage action, you can basically like punch, flurry of blows, disengage, punch somebody else, disengage. Like you can multiple times you can disengage. So it is actually a pretty good thing as a level 3 ability. I mean, what you're getting for bonus proficiencies aren't as good, but this is actually a pretty good thing, and for being level 3, it is definitely something that you would want to get more often. At 6th level, you'll get Tipsy Sway. You can move in sudden swaying ways. You gain the following benefits. Leap to your feet. When you're prone, you can stand up, spending 5 feet of movement rather than half your speed. Extremely beneficial, because now you have... I mean, as a monk, this one has never been too bad of a thing to like have to use like half your movement speed, because you have like 35, 40, 500 movement speed. Like, the amount of movement speed that you have, like sacrificing half of it has never been like such a big sacrifice compared to, other classes. But it is still very beneficial that you can now only have to use 5 feet of movement instead. And you also get redirect attack. When a creature misses you with a melee attack roll, you can spend 1 key point as a reaction to cause that hit to hit one creature of your choice other than the attacker that you can see within 5 feet of you. This one is like a rather like smaller use, more niche thing where a melee attack has to be made against you and miss, and you have to spend a key point to hit somebody that is within 5 feet of you. So you have to be being harried by, like you have to be getting harried by multiple attackers. The enemy has to miss. You have to have your reaction and spend a key point just for them to hit the other attack, like hit the other creature. You'll probably be able to use this against, probably not too often against, like more humanoid or demon things, but definitely like if you're being attacked by enemies who have like pack tactics, like wolves and wogs and wargs and animals of that nature, that'll often be, roaming in packs and like to attack, with multiple creatures at once on you instead of like one creature here or one creature over there, somebody from a distance. Like, that's when it'll be helpful. But even then, using your reaction for that rather than using your reaction for like attack of opportunity or deflect missile or something that one of the other subclasses can give, it isn't bad, you know. Like, there's nothing terrible about this. It'll be a beneficial, helpful thing, I will say. But it's alright. At 11th level, you get Drunkard's Luck. You always seem to get a lucky bounce at the right moment. When you make an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw and have disadvantage on the roll, you can spend 2 key points to cancel the disadvantage for that roll. Now this seems really cool. You can cancel disadvantage on things that rely on, like, have you rolling a d20, but for 2 key points to get rid of disadvantage, um, I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just spending 2 key points to cancel disadvantage. Um, it's just there's so much else, like so many other things that can come up, and a lot of other like beneficial things that can happen, and also like thinking that this is all you being a drunk, basically. Like if you've seen Jackie Chan in some of his movies when he does the drunken fist technique, or Rock Lee versus the bone guy from Naruto, like how he does everything with like the whole drunk related things. It's kind of lackluster and not really giving anything that is like, wow, this is what I'm getting at each of these levels as this whole class. This is amazing. Especially from like what the other subclasses have been giving. Uh, it's meh, to be honest. And then at 17th level as the Capstone, you'll gain Intoxicated Frenzy. You gain the ability to make an overwhelming number of attacks against a group of enemies. When you use your Flurry of Blows, you can make up to 3 additional attacks with it, up to a total of 5 Flurry of Blows attacks, provided that each Flurry of Blow attack is against a different creature this turn. This seems really cool. The fact that you can get 5 attacks with your Flurry of Blows instead of just 2, but then each of them have to be on a separate creature. So like a lot of times you're probably not going to be fighting 5 enemies. Also, you're probably not going to be fighting 5 enemies that are within that close of range that you can get to all of them. Like yes, when you use Flurry of Blows, you get the disengage action, but you also would have to hit somebody one time with a Flurry of Blows, move to another person, hit them, move to another person, hit them, move to like the amount that you have to be like maneuvering through, and you're not always going to be in such close quarters combat that you're going to be able to be running from enemy to enemy to enemy to enemy to enemy to enemy to enemy. It isn't the most realistic thing. Like it seems really cool, like whoa, I get to attack 5 people, I can like launch so many attacks, but it is such like a precise thing needs to happen. Like everything here is like either like not big enough of a thing, or it just is such a niche time. Like you have to hit 5 different creatures, and spending 2 key points to cancel disadvantage, so it's still just neutral at that point. Leap to your feet is actually a very beneficial thing. Redirect has to have you being attacked by 2 enemies, and the attacker has to miss, and you spend keep for it. Drunken Technique is actually probably the most beneficial thing because you gain an extra 10 feet, and you get the disengage action when you take Flurry of Blows. And then, like this one, like you gain performance and brewer's supplies. That's kind of like meh. Like all in all, everything that this gives you, there's really no time that you would want to play as the Drunken Master compared to anything else, and just taking like a feat or two, because like his like disengage action when you take Flurry of Blows, and you also gain 10 feet when you do it. If you take the mobility feat at 4th level, or even at 1st level if you took Variant Human, that increases your speed by 10 feet, and for everybody that you hit, you can then move away from them and you won't trigger their attack of opportunity. So it does the exact same thing that Drunken Master does, but you can do it like including your punches. So if you're out of key or you don't want to be using Flurry of Blows, you'll still gain the benefit, and you also are always gaining 10 feet of movement from that. And like, it's just everything is like so niche. Like I've always seen this to be like a very lower end one. So like there is a little bit of bias against it. Like don't get me wrong, are there benefits to it? Yes, but taking a different subclass and just choosing the right feats is definitely going to be way better to do than trying to make a Drunken Master work. So that's just me though. Uh, yeah. Next up is Way of the Four Elements. Starting at 3rd level, you'll become a Disciple of the Elements, which basically will allow you to start spending key points for spells or spell-related things, which it's kind of cool that you can use key for spells, which we've seen in the Way of the Shadow also had that ability. you can basically just be choosing, third level you get 2, 6, 11, 17, and you also notice that depending on your level, that's how many key points you can spend for the spell. So, if you're a 5th level spunk and you use Sweeping Cinder Strike to cast Burning Hands, you can spend 3 key points to spend it at 2nd level. And then that basically means that you can go to, I would assume that it's like 3rd, 4th, and 5th level is how it's going to work. So you can essentially like upcast in a sense, which is kind of cool. So if you want to be using your key for more spell-related things, you can. I'm not going to be going over all of these, but essentially all of them, like their names might be kind of odd, but like as I said, Sweeping Cinder Strike allows you to cast Burning Hands. Breath of Winter allows you to cast Cone of Cold. Clench of North Wind. Like a lot of these are like spell, like you cast them to cause, like you can use key to cause spells, but some of them are that you can use key to do spell-like effects, like Elemental Attunement. You can use your action to briefly control elemental forces within 30 feet of you, causing one of the following effects of your choice. Only one of the effects, note. Create a harmless, instantaneous sensory effect related to air, earth, fire, or water, such as whisk showers, showers of sparks, puff of wind, spray of light mist, gentle rumbling of stone. Instantaneously light or snuff a candle, torch, small campfire, chill or warm up a pound of non-living material for up to an hour. Cause earth, fire, water, or mist that can fit within a 1-foot cube to shape itself into a crude form you designate for 1 minute. So, you can get like a lot of, things that are related to spells, or you can just like mimic the spell, or you can have spell-like effects that are related to elements. So, this is basically you're kind of playing as the avatar, as a lot of people will say, because especially like when you read this one right here, you're getting earth, fire, water, wind, like the 4 elements that the avatar and the benders from Avatar can do. But like, you don't do them quite as well as it makes it out to be, and you're really gonna be burning through key. Like, I mean, Breath of the Wind is 6 key. If you're doing Sweeping Cinder Strike, that's 2 key to cast Burning Hands. And like, you get this all back at a short, like, you get all your key back at a short rest. But it's also like, you're over here like, doing these monstrous things, and it's like, yeah, it all sounds really cool, especially with the names like Breath of Winter, Clench of the North Wind, Fangs of a Fire Snake, and it's like, yeah, these all sound really cool, but then it's like, Wave of Rolling Earth, Wall of Stone, for 6 key points. Like, yeah, the names and everything sounds really cool. But then you actually read what everything means, and you're like, oh, wait. Okay. I mean, I guess it's cool. Like, they're definitely beneficial ones. If you choose the right ones, then you're going to be in good money there. But, uh, you can just be like a different actual caster at that point. So, next oh, actually, there is nothing at 6th level. Let me actually turn all of these off. Because technically, this is what you're getting a lot of the time at some of these levels. Is that at 3rd level you're getting both of these at 6th level instead of getting a normal 6th level thing like the other ones have. Because these are both what every monk gets. You're getting this, and let me see. Yeah, nothing at 11th or 17th level. All you're getting are these. That's the thing that really drops this class, is the fact that you're not gaining anything on top of this. It's basically, oh, yeah, as a, like some of the other ones are like, yeah, on top of what you're getting from these every time you level up, like domain spells for the cleric or druid or other things, you're also gaining things at at other levels and stuff. And like with the battle master, how he keeps getting more and more maneuvers and stuff. You're not gaining more things at every other level. Those other classes are getting their domain spells, their maneuvers, and something at 17th level, and something at 11th level. Like, this is your capstone. Your capstone is to be able to use Breath of Winter. Like, are you going to tell me that at level 17 you want your capstone to be able to spend 6 key points to cast Cone of Cold? Or to cast Wall of Stone? Like, this is what you're getting from the class. you're getting 5 things. That's it. And they're like limited use, spending key to gain somewhat spell effects. Slightly better than Drunken Master. I still wouldn't choose it though, because if you want to be playing like this style of thing where you can do like melee and spells, choose an actual half-caster, choose a paladin, choose a ranger, choose the arcane trickster rogue, choose a warlock, choose the eldritch knight. Like, there are so many things that are way better to choose than this, because this really kind of takes away from the monk, as you're now using huge amounts of ki to gain minimal benefits in all actuality. So it's like, ugh, it's so meh. And also, is it that, yeah, I think these technically count as you, like, casting a spell, technically. So you would take the action, you would take the cast spell action in order to do this, which means that if you're doing this, you're either casting a spell or you're attacking, and it's like, like it is so. Like if it was saying that as a bonus action you could be doing all of these, that would make it so much better. Like you can make an attack with your, you can do, attack, and then cast Cone of Cold on an enemy or something like that. Like that's massive. That's like a huge benefit. But this is you actually taking the attack action to do this. Like you're using the spell action to cast all of these. So now you're just becoming like a kind of lower end spellcaster, and that's not what a monk is. Monks are not spellcasters or half-casters realistically. It should be like interweaving spell-related things or something into what you do. Like if it was like, oh, you could, spend a key to be able to cause fire. You can spend a key as a reaction, or like spend key to, mimic the effect of stone skin. And like, it isn't, as like you're just amplifying yourself, and like all these ways that could be, bonus actions, or when you make an attack, you can also do this with it. But like, it doesn't quite do that, and that kind of drags it down a little bit. Next is going to be the Way of the Kensai. You'll get Path of the Kensai at 3rd level, which basically allows you to gain a couple of interesting things. You gain Kensai weapons, which you can choose 2 weapons to be your Kensai weapons, a melee and a ranged one. Each of these weapons can be any simple or martial weapon that lacks the heavy and special properties. The longbow is also a valid choice. You gain proficiency with these weapons if you don't already have it. Weapons of the chosen types are monk weapons for you. Many of this tradition's features work only with your Kensai weapons. When you reach 6th, 11th, and 17th level, you can choose another type of weapon, either melee or ranged, to be your Kensai weapon, following the criteria above. Agile parry. If you make an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn and are holding a Kensai weapon, you can use it to defend yourself. If it is a melee weapon, you gain a +2 bonus to AC until the start of your next turn while the hand is in your weapon and you aren't incapacitated. So like actually a pretty cool like feature there. So if you want to be, if you're like, you can strike once with your actual Kensai weapon and then punch with your second attack that you can do once you get extra attack feature, and then you can, as a it's not even like as a bonus action or anything, you straight up can just become like a higher AC. So at this point, you have like a AC of like 4, maybe like 16, 17 or something like that. So you can then add that up to 18 or 19, so you can really protect yourself. And you still have your bonus action to do flurry of blows, or even to do, to go into like a defensive stance to cause disadvantage on the enemies, so you're even harder to hit. Actually, very beneficial. Kensai's Shot. You can use your bonus action on your turn to make a range attack with a Kensai weapon more deadly. When you do so, any target you hit with a range attack using a Kensai weapon takes an extra 1d4 damage of the weapon's type. You retain this benefit until the end of the current turn. So just as a nifty little thing, you could be, if you're attacking, and then you can shoot somebody from a distance who will take even more damage from the ranged weapon. So it is actually a pretty nifty little thing that you can do. And this is using the bonus action, so you can still, I mean, you're going to be attacking with the bonus action anyways, so, this will allow you to do more damage, but do remember that you won't be able to make the range attack against somebody who's within 5 feet of you. I mean, you can, but you'll have disadvantage on it if your target is within 5 feet of you. So do be wary of that. And also you gain Wave the Brush, which you gain proficiency with your choice of calligrapher's supplies or the painter's supplies. So just like a nifty little added thing there, so you can have calligraphers. It's like a lot of options here. So whichever one you really want. I mean, you can go for some like quarterstaff, so you can have some decent damage. You can go for battle axe or huge damage numbers. Like you can choose a lot of like kind of miscellaneous, kind of funny things to see, especially. I mean, you guys rapier and also the fact that you get this, like you can have a crossbow, like you can have a hand crossbow, so you can actually still like make unarmed melee attacks. So you don't have to have like two hands on your weapon. You can basically start. You can punch a couple of times and then shoot somebody, and you still have open hands for stuff. So it's like really cool to see in that way, and it's kind of funny. So pretty nifty little things there. You'll get 1 with the blade at 6th level. At 6th level, you extend your ki into your Kensai weapons, granting the following benefits. Magic Kensai weapons. Your attacks with your Kensai weapons count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. So same thing that you're gaining here, where now your unarmed strikes count as magical. Now your Kensai weapons will gain the same effect, and you also gain Deft Strike. When you hit a target with a Kensai weapon, you can spend 1 ki point to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. You can use this feature only once per turn. So, similar to what the Astral Body does for you at 6th level, when you're hitting somebody with the Astral Arms, you can deal an extra martial arts damage. You can, in this way, when you're using your Kensai weapon, you can spend a ki point to be able to do an extra martial arts die of it, and this is, of course, after you've already hit them, so you don't have to, like, call it out, be like, I'm gonna use Deft Strike. Oh, no, it misses, you spend the ki. No, you can hit them and then be like, Deft Strike. And then you can get, another thing, which can be ranged or melee, so you can just choose whatever you want. So definitely some beneficial thing here of your all Kensai weapons will be considered magical, and your Deft Strikes will allow you to do a bit of extra damage if you would like, once per turn if you want to be doing it, but you don't have to be. And then an extra Kensai weapon, so if you want to mix it up a little bit, you can. At 11th level, you'll gain Sharpen the Blade. You gain the ability to augment your weapons further with your ki. As a bonus action, you can expend up to 3 ki points to grant one Kensai weapon you touch a bonus to attack and damage rolls when you attack with it. The bonus equals the number of ki points you spent. This bonus lasts for 1 minute until you use this feature again. This feature has no effect on a magic weapon that already has a bonus to attack and damage rolls. So you basically can spend ki to give your weapon to become a +1, +2, or +3 weapon. So it's actually pretty cool, because then it's going to be easier to hit and you're going to be doing even more damage. So a lot of like very strong, nifty things that you can be doing with this. And it lasts for a minute, so you can basically like do this at the start of combat. And then whatever weapon you chose will now be a lot stronger to be using at that point. So you can bonus action do this and then start attacking, so that it'll be way stronger right at the start of combat. And then of course you get another, whatever you want, just go for a Warhammer, why not? So, another weapon to be adding on top of that, and a pretty nifty ability at level 11, I would say. And lastly, let me just say you get another weapon, so choose whatever. Lastly, as your capstone of the subclass, you get Unerring Accuracy. At 17th level, your mastery of weapons grants you extraordinary accuracy. If you miss with an attack roll using a monk weapon on your turn, you can re-roll it. You can use this feature only once on each of your turns. So, you basically, in a sense, you gain advantage on 1 roll per turn. So, it really can increase your chance. It increases your chance at hitting, but also increases your chance at critting. So, as a 17th level ability, this is actually pretty strong, and you'll have like a fairly decent amount of monk weapons, because monk weapons are your fists, and anything that is included as a monk weapon, like it has the actual title of monk weapon, and anything that you're using as your Kensai weapons, all of those will now have the ability to be re-rolled when you attack. So if you miss, you can just re-roll it. So it's now easier for you to hit a bit more often, and this isn't like a limited time per day or something like that, or expend key to do it. It is just you can only use it once per turn, which, yeah, you can only use it once per turn. Yeah, once per turn, gaining the ability to re-roll an attack is pretty powerful. I would say with everything that's said, this is probably not going to be all the way up here like the other ones are, but this one is definitely like in 86 to 88 range. I know, like, I always put like a range of like small number, like 88, 86 to 88. Why is it not just 87? Because honestly, because like just saying 87 is a very flat. It is always going to be an 87. 86 to 88 kind of says like, it has that little bit of fluctuation of either being like a very high, like a low a B plus or a high solid B. So it's like that slight little bit of fluctuation, like the Shadow Monk all the way down here, like 81 or 82. Like, it's not going to be often that it actually has its core effects and abilities happening. So that's kind of why I give those type of numbers. Next up, I will be doing the last two. So yeah, this video is going to be a little bit longer, but I'm sorry about that. Next up is Way of the Open Hand. Open Hand Technique at 3rd level. When you choose this tradition, you gain these little benefits that you can do when you hit a creature with one of the attacks of your flurry of blows. You can either make it succeed on a dex saving throw, or you can make it you can force a dex saving throw, or it'll be knocked prone. You can have it make a strength saving throw, or it is pushed 15 feet away, or it just straight up can't take its reactions until the end of its turn. And this is when you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by the following from Flurry of Blows. So it's not like each hit gets its own. It is, if you hit them with Flurry of Blows, you can impose one of these. So a lot of the time, you would probably be saying this one. Like, if it is your, like, if you hit it with your very first one and you still have a second Flurry Blow afterwards, or like you have another melee combatant nearby who can gain the benefits of an enemy being prone, you probably choose this one. But if you hit it on like your last one, then you'll probably choose this one. Like, I'm not saying you never choose this one, but like this one would be like if you're trying to like get it into a very precarious situation for you to like getting it closer to your team and away from its team. If you're maybe trying to push it off a ledge or something, you can do this one. But forcing it to not be able to take reactions until the end of your next turn, which means that you can do this. If you still have movement, you can then move away, and then you can then come back in on your next turn, hit it, and then still move away, and it still cannot take reactions until the end of that turn that you just did there. So, extremely beneficial things that you're getting at level 3 as some fairly strong little miscellaneous things here. At 6th level, you'll gain a Wholeness of Body. You gain the ability to heal yourself. As an action, you can regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level. You have to finish a long rest before you can do this again. So it is, in sense, kind of like the fighter's second wind ability, how they heal. Of course, you'll be healing a lot more at later times, but this one is also needing to take a long rest to gain it back, when I believe second wind you can get it back at a short rest, if I'm not mistaken. And this one also is using your action to do it instead of your bonus action. So, although it is very beneficial, it is 3 times your monk level, so it is always guaranteed to be a pretty good amount. At 6th level, you're guaranteed to gain 18. At max level, you're guaranteed to gain 60 hit points, which, you're having 183 hit points because, you're acting as if you have a 4 constitution super early on, of course, so probably wouldn't quite be like that. But, the ability to gain, 60 hit points on what would be like a range of 160 to 180 hit points, I would say. Like 160 to 200 would be the range that you're getting for hit points. So gaining just about a third of your HP back as an action is really strong. Of course, that's at like later levels. I mean, at this point, 18 hit points, you probably only have like probably like the 60 to 80 range, I would say. So you're still gaining a pretty decent amount of hit points back at every level. At level 11, you'll gain Tranquility. You can enter a special meditation that surrounds you with an aura of peace. At the end of a long rest, you gain the effect of a sanctuary spell that lasts until the start of your next long rest. The spell can end early as normal. The saving throw DC for the spell equals 8 plus wisdom plus proficiency. So, just like not something that is costing you anything, not anything that is, like negative. It's literally just a free sanctuary spell on yourself just because you took a nap. Like you slept, you fully healed, and now you have the sanctuary spell until it either ends normally or it is until you take another long rest, which then you'll once again gain it back when you wake up because you just finished a long rest. And it's the 8 plus proficiency at this point. I think it's a plus 3 or plus 4, so it'll be 12 plus wisdom. Wisdom at this point would probably be like 4, so they have to make I believe it is a wisdom saving throw of 16, which is a pretty decent a pretty decent number that they have to try to save against, I would say. And a lot of the times, people who would be attacking you in melee, like a lot of times they probably won't have the highest wisdom, so you probably can be getting yourself saved with the sanctuary spell from all their attacks because of this. So it's kind of like a nifty little thing to be getting at level 11. And then at 17th level, as the capstone of the subclass, you get Quivering Palm. You gain the ability to set up lethal vibrations in someone's body. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 key points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level. At this point, it'd be 17. The vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the creature must take a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points. If it succeeds, it takes 10d10 necrotic damage. So even if if it fails, you kill it essentially. If it fails, well, let's see. You'll be dealing 52 damage, which means that you can basically be doing this in the middle of combat, forcing to either potentially just end your opponent instantly, or force them to take a pretty decent amount of damage, which also, by the way, because it's necrotic damage, if this necrotic damage reduces them to 0 hit points, they die as well, because necrotic hit points instantly kills an enemy if they are reduced to 0 hit points because of necrotic damage. So, beneficial on a fail or success. And you can only have one creature under the effect under this feature at a time. You can choose to end vibrations harmlessly without using an action. So you can basically, it also isn't like a limited, once per day or something like that. So you can basically go, affect you with it, end it instantly, hit you again, end it instantly, hit you again, end it instantly, and just try to, multiple times to either instant kill the enemy by reducing them to 0, or, basically doing 30 D10 worth of necrotic damage, which, let me just roll that for you. Let me just click. Yeah, it's gonna be a massive thing of lag. Essentially, throughout all that time, you can do roughly 167 damage. Look at all that. All that noise was so good, too. You can potentially do 167 damage or so. And potentially also just instantaneously murder your enemy on 3 separate times. And you can also just wait this out. You have 20 days to do this. Which also, in thought, is a very good, intimidation tactic as well. Because you can do this and be like, oh, just so you know, I put these imperceptible vibrations in your body. You have 17 days to do whatever I tell you to do. And if you don't give me the information or go do what I tell you to do, I'm going to activate them. And you're going to die because of it. So, and if they don't believe you, and you think they're strong enough, you can basically just force 10d10 worth of damage. Or if you have a group of them, you can do it to one of the other people and just and just serious damage to an enemy. This is an easy S tier. This one in the Astral Self, or the very high up there ones a lot of times, and same with Mercy. Open Hand and Astral Self would probably be used way more than Mercy, because a lot of times you'll have like a secondary healer, so you probably won't need the Way of Mercy for your quote unquote secondary healer. But when you do have a when you don't have a secondary healer, or you want to also kind of be able to heal from time to time as as that, then it is a very like strong beneficial thing there. So definitely Open Hand and Astral Self you'll see a lot more often, but Mercy still has a spot that can be that'll be up there for for S tier. And lastly, the end of the video, we'll go over the Way of the Sun Soul. At 3rd level, you'll gain Radiant Sunbolt. You gain a new attack option that you can use with the attack action. This special attack is a ranged spell attack with a range of 30 feet. You are proficient with it, and you can add your dex modifier to its attack and damage rolls. Its damage is radiant, and its damage die is a d4. This die changes as you gain monk levels, as shown in the martial arts column. So it's going to be the exact same amount of damage that your punches will do. So d4 to a d10, I think, or maybe a d8 at max. When you take the attack action on a turn and use a special attack as part of the action, you can spend 1 key point to make this special attack twice as a bonus action. You gain the extra attack. When you gain the extra attack feature, this special attack can be used for any of the attacks you make as part of the attack action. So you basically can start just throwing out Ki Blast at your enemy, which it's not like a the Kamehameha wave, you're not doing like a full force, like huge attack. It is just a basic Ki Blast to be able to do, a D4 plus Dex. So it's like, yeah, exactly what you would be doing with your melee strikes. And then this goes up as you level up, so like a D8 after a while. So you can now do ranged attacks instead of just melee focused things. You can actually attack somebody from a distance, which is kind of beneficial, because that's one of the things that a lot of like martial and melee focused classes are very weak against, is the fact that they can't hit mid-air enemies, or if like an enemy has ran away or they don't have enough movement to get to them. You can now have 30 feet of a range attack, and you can do that multiple times with the extra attack action, or spend a key point to do it as a bonus action. Pretty strong actually, very nice and beneficial. At 6th level, you'll gain Searing Arc Strike. You gain the ability to channel your ki into searing waves of energy. Immediately after you take the attack action on turn, you can spend 2 key points to cast the Burning Hands spell as a bonus action. You can spend additional ki to cast Burning Hands as a higher level spell. Each additional key point increases spells level by 1. The maximum number of key points, 2 plus any additional key points that you can spend on the level, equals half your monk level. So, you will eventually be able to cast it as like a 9th level spell, I believe, because it'd be you can spend up to 2 plus any additional, so like you can at max get a 10 into it. It naturally is 2, so it'd be I think 8 or 9 would be the highest you can go on it. Would you realistically do that? Probably not, but it'd be hilarious. But also, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about the Way of the Four Elements, is that those are making you use the your action to cast the spells. You can take your attack action, punch, throw your Ki Blast, whatever you want to do, and then just immediately, then as a bonus action, you can cast the Burning Hand spell using the ki. So the exact same thing as the Way of the Four Elements, but this way you're using a bonus action. So you're getting to attack and cast the spell afterwards. So a very beneficial thing that you're getting to do attacks and a spell. So a bit better in that sense. At level 11, you'll gain Searing Sunburst. You gain the ability to create an orb of light that erupts into a devastating explosion. As an action, you magically create an orb and hurl it at a point you choose within 150 feet, where it erupts into a sphere of radiant light for a brief but deadly instant. Each creature in that 20-foot radius sphere must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 2d6 radiant damage. A creature doesn't need to make the save if the creature is behind total cover that is opaque. You can increase the sphere's damage by spending ki points. Each point you spend to a maximum of 3 increases the damage by 2d6. Which, note that this is just using as an action you can throw this. This isn't costing ki to use this. You can just, as an action, throw a grenade of light. You can throw a holy hand grenade. And getting to be able to do, an additional 3, which will be an additional 6d6 of damage. So you can do 8d6 damage to an area of 40-foot diameter, which is a pretty large area to do. You're basically throwing like a kind of like a slightly weaker but radiant version of Fireball. So it is a weaker version, yes, but it's also for free that you can do as much as you want, not casting spell slots or anything like that. And it is radiant, so it is resisted a lot less and is super effective a lot more. So if you're up against like undead, you can just throw this thing out and destroy them. So, pretty nifty little thing, and is probably pretty fun to use from time to time. And at 17th level, as your capstone, you'll gain Sun Shield. At 17th level, you become wreathed in a luminous magical aura. You shed bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. You can extinguish or restore the light as a bonus action. If a creature hits you with a melee attack while the light shines, you can use your reaction to deal radiant damage to the creature. The radiant damage equals 5 plus your wisdom modifier. This is definitely one of those slightly more lackluster ones. Like on it like 1 to 10, this is probably like a 5, 5.5. Like it is definitely not something that you were super looking forward to, but nothing that you were, you're not like super like you're not unbelievable. Like this is what I'm getting great, but you're definitely more in the range of like, oh, I mean, cool. I mean, I got to 17th level. I'm getting some benefits, I guess. But it also isn't like, oh, I'm not gaining benefits, or I'm gaining this, whoa! So it is actually a pretty nifty little thing of gaining to shed light for a pretty decent bit of area, and you also can, as a reaction, kind of deal a little bit of damage. Like if it was like, you rolled 2d6 plus your wisdom, then, it could be a bit better, or if it was like, the radiant damage is equal to your monk level plus wisdom or something, or just your monk level, because then that's like 17 to 20 damage by the end. Like you'll be doing a lot of damage and getting a lot of benefit from it. Sun Soul is definitely like the top of the great, because it allows you to do radiant damage, like a brand new like unique damage that is fairly unresisted and can be super effective to a decent bit of enemies. You also gaining a lot of benefits from like the fire and other radiant things, and you gain range attacks, um, and like all these miscellaneous little things. And it is just like a kind of like if 4 elements kind of played how Sun Soul did, where like you still gain like you gained spell effects at certain levels, and like you could do like, oh, you can now have your fist can deal an extra 1d4 of damage. When you punch somebody, you're able to, using like fire to do an extra 1d4 of fire damage. Um, the wind to be able to like knock somebody back, or maybe get like a temporary flying speed or something. Earth to be able to give yourself more defense. Water to, I don't know, maybe some type of flowing with water type of thing, essentially. And like these just basically like got better and better. Like how when you're being the totem barbarian, how you choose a totem and then you gain benefits because of that totem, or the somebody else that we went over, uh, Storm Herald Barbarian, I think it might have been, where it was like you choose which kind of like what domain you want, like what type you want, ice, fire, or electric, essentially, and like you gain benefits depending on which one you chose. If that's how 4 elements was, like if you chose to be, to have more fire than the other ones, then it's like you're gaining these benefits. If you chose to be water, you're gaining these strong benefits. If you chose, so and so for the other things, like choosing more and more things in this area rather than like spend key point to cast spell. Like that's kind of lame. And it's not even like you're getting these massive spells. It's not like, oh yes, you can spend 6 key points to cast Disintegrate or something, or, some like crazy sounding thing like, okay, dayo. But, could have been a bit better in that sense. Especially when you can also see Sun Soul. It's that kind of thing where like, yeah, when you have this, but you also gotta compare like yeah, that one's really cool. But you also have this one, like the College of Swords is kind of cool and unique and could be like better. And it's like, yeah, I probably could have ranked that as like true neutral or nice if it wasn't for the fact that College of Valor also exists, which is also a melee bard and does it way better. So it's like, yes, if Four Elements was by itself and Sun Soul didn't exist, I could probably put it as like true neutral, maybe nice, probably just true neutral though. But because Sun Soul exists and it does it like a bit better in how what Four Elements could have and should have been, Four Elements kind of goes down a little bit because of that. But this is my ranking of the monks, as you can see. The ones that do appear that are on this list are here. The ones that are only on D&D Beyond and not appearing on here, either because they were added after this list was made or because they were, critical role content. Uh, then, they were talked about in the other video and from this one, so they won't be here, but I did talk about them, so if you want to just go back to try to find that, then you'll be able to see it. But that does it for the monk, and that also does it for this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, then consider hitting the like button and commenting down below what you did enjoy, and letting me know what you, commenting, hitting the like button and commenting down below what you guys did enjoy so I continue doing it to continue making the videos as well as I have been. Boy, English, guys. Also, if you didn't like the video, then go ahead and dislike it and comment down below what you didn't like so that I can improve upon it to make the videos better for y'all. If you guys want to know when I upload, then the best way to know is by subscribing. But that does it for this video. Until next time, bye guys.